Hey guys, Steve-O here from Steve-O Speed Shop. On this channel I'll be working on my 70 Dodge Dart Swinger with a 440 big block. I also got a 1988 Dodge Ram van made into a hot rod with a small block in it. And then I got a Dodge W150 4x4 4 gear with another small block. Everything's got cam and log tubes, and that's how we roll. This Dart over here I'm working on, I probably picked up about 6 years ago now. It came as a rolling chassis, no motor, no drivetrain, no electrical. Had to build the car from the ground up. But over the past few years, it started off as a small block with a 4 gear. Had it riding all right in the 8th mile. I had it riding a 9.4, respectable for a small block 318. And then I was looking for some more power though. So I decided to pick up a 74 Chrysler New Yorker. Ended up pulling the 440 big block out. I was thinking it was a Smogger. Started pulling it open. It ended up having flat tops from a later model 60s 440 with a higher compression height. It was already decked. Just had cast heads at the time. So I ended up just getting a small thumper cam, like 486 lift, something moderate. And then about maybe 6 months into accumulating parts for that build, I ended up finding a set of Edelbrock E Street closed chamber heads, 75 cc's. So I started off with the small thumper cam for now, and got it running at the track. On the 8th mile, I ended up getting it to run in the 7s in the 8th mile. I got a 794 out of it. The leaf springs had been shot since I got the car, so I ended up using Uncle Tony's trick. I ended up running air shocks in the rear, and to compensate with the torque twist, I ended up putting more air pressure in the passenger side. That way, when it would torque up the driver front and try to squat down the passenger rear, it would spread more evenly and lift evenly for the weight transfer. What I ended up ordering recently were a pair of super stock leafs, 3,200 pounds. I'm hoping that'll help me put the power down with the 440 big block torque. When I first put the 440 together, I ended up starting out with a 383 low deck dual quad intake. I was running two 600 CFM Edelbrock carbs on it. The throttle response was awesome, but the power wasn't there for a 440 big block though. If you look into the ports, it's pretty well straight in, and it's a 90-degree right up to the plenum of the darts. If you ask me, that's not very good flow, and I think that's where my power loss was going. My heads can flow. The headers are 2-inch primaries, so they'll definitely flow. The cam isn't very big, but I still think that was restricting it quite a bit. At the end of the season, I decided to go with a tunnel ram. That way, with the long runners, I'm able to get the flow that this 440 is looking for. With the flat tops pretty well up at the top of the deck, and with the closed chamber 75 cc heads, I'm sitting around 10.5, 11 to 1 compression. So it's a stout motor, and it needs the flow. To get a little bit more lift out of my thumper cam at only about 486 lift, I ended up going from the 1.5 factory rocker ratio up to a 1.6 roller, which puts me about 546 lift on the intake and 531 on the exhaust. It'll allow it to breathe a little bit more. The 600 Edelbrocks are doing all right, but I ended up coming across a pair of 750s, so this spring I'm going to be jetting those and trying those out on the Tunnel Ram 440. Putting the big block in this little A-body definitely wasn't easy, let me tell you. Especially for the first time, I think the hardest part was clearancing everything to fit. Once everything was clearanced, it all just fell into place, but it took a while to get to that point though. The K-frame is from a 73, so it's got the factory spool mounts. So from my research, from getting the 74 New Yorker, the big block spool mounts, you can drop them right in the small block K-frame, but it won't sit where you need it. So what we ended up doing was we ended up flipping the driver and passenger sides around. When we dropped it in, it was sitting about 3/4 inch back. So the drive shaft from a 727 to 8 3/4 would fit. For the transmission mount, I ended up slotting the factory holes right to the end and running washers, and the washers are fully covering the steel and they're not hanging over the lip or anything. They've been holding up for a full season so far. The headers are definitely tight, let me tell you that. You have to run a small tire if you want to steer. I started off with a 25-inch diameter tire. That was way too big. And going down to a 23.5, I was able to steer, but it would still rub a little bit with the torsion bars fully cranked to lift the front end up. So now I have a pair of 22.5-inch diameter tires, and hopefully I'll have the clearance I need. If not, I'll have to bend primary tubes out of the way to make clearance. Now with the 22.5-inch diameter tire, I have much more clearance. I should be able to drop down the torsion bars and bring the front end back down again. That way it's not way up in the air. This has been my most recent purchase for the Dart. Pair of super stock leaf springs. The top leaf would be the passenger leaf, and it's reinforced in the front to control the flex and to lift the passenger side a little stiffer and a little higher. That way when you torque and launch the car, when it picks up your driver front, it's going to want to pick up the front more evenly, since the passenger side that it's naturally going to want to tuck is going to be stiffer, and it's going to plant the tires more evenly. For a rear end, I'm running an 8 3/4 with a 489 center section with 391 course line and a spool. I also have Moser axles. Currently I'm running drum brake, but I have a rear disc brake conversion as well to put in. Hope you guys enjoyed the first video of the channel. Make sure to like, subscribe. That way you can follow along with the updates and progress as I work on the car. Thanks guys.